Kindred UMC live show features adults discussing adult topics, occasionally with adult language. It may not be suitable for young viewers. Please use discretion before watching.
Hello all! Welcome once again to the Kindred UMC pre-recorded live show. My name is Chris Hayden. I'm the pastor at Kindred UMC.
Hi, I'm Courtney Young. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Kindred UMC.
I'm Preston. I'm last again. But he who finishes last is still in last place. So
And you didn't clap on the 3, 2, 1 clap, and I'm a little bitter about it.
You're a better person for it?
I'm bitter about it.
Very proud of you.
So here we are in the actual Christmas season. We've gone from Advent to Christmas, and even though we haven't done our Christmas Eve live show for real, this is pretend times because it's pre-recorded, and we have. And it went great.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. We did amazing.
His chimney
We did
fell
it.
in. It was weird, but...
Don't prophesy against me. So we're going to be talking about Epiphany. Epiphany. Does anybody know what Epiphany is? Because it's a churchy word.
I used to know.
I remember that we talked about this last year, but I don't remember what we talked about.
Yeah.
Well, Epa is after.
Yeah.
So...
Fanny is...
Well. This is like a double positive.
Epiphany it's the liturgical calendared weekend, or usually it's a Sunday because churches worship on Sundays typically, but we're different. It's where it recognizes and celebrates the visitation of the Magi, the three wise men, to the birth of the baby Jesus. Which is different because it's actually not the birth of the baby Jesus. It's like he's like older by then. It's longer after that. But we digress. So let's just start by reading the text. This is from the book of Matthew chapter 2 verses 1 through 12. And they go like this. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men, or Magi, from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and we have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child. And when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chest, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. The word of God for the people of God.
He shall fill you with his praise.
And also with you.
Oh, yeah, that one.
So I know we have talked about this, but what do you make of it? What do you make of foreign people being the first to kind of effectively worship Jesus?
There's a movie about it. It's called The Nativity. Go watch it. It's actually...
Technically shepherds were, but they're also kind of out. But
Oh.
What do you make of that's? I'm correcting myself.
Oh.
What do you make of foreigners being the first to kind of recognize this King of the Jews aspect?
I think 1099 forms. That's what I think. I think they're contractors. I think Herod hired out of his not his realm, but his realm or his court. Like these are not his magi. These are someone else's magi.
Okay.
And he's like, "I will hire you. Here's some gold. Go. and then tell me about it. So you're not biased.
It's a weird take on
See what
it.
I'm saying?
No?
I'm only saying this because in the Nativity movie, 2 of the wise men were like gung ho to go, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna go see the new king, and the third one's like, this kind of sounds fishy, guys. It kind of stays behind, and then they're going, and like an hour later, the guy comes back and he's like, you forgot the map. They're just right.
You're selling it.
Let's not
Doesn't
focus
watch
on the
movies.
fiction of the movie. Instead, let's focus on the text.
Period.
Read between the lines and don't celebrate Christmas then. Okay? Thank you, Courtney. Oh, because it's Epiphany, so we already did that.
It's Epiphany. This is the season of Christmas. Christmas happens after the Christmas day. We're in the liturgical season of Christmas, and Epiphany is part of it. When the Magi come. Courtney, do you have any thoughts about?
I think it speaks to the idea that everybody has a unique and interesting story that they can bring to the table, and I think it's cool that
How do you mean?
I just think I think it's cool. Like, they were foreigners, they weren't people within the church, they were outside, they were different. Like, there's a lot of power and value in when that happens.
So what do you make of Herod and all of Jerusalem not really knowing that their Messiah had been born?
Yeah, I don't remember that part. I remember him being scared or freaked out.
I heard one of the best sermons I ever heard around Christmas time was from Brian Russell, Dr. Brian Russell.
Ah, yes.
And he pointed, he was the one that really, I had missed it. I grew up in the church, and he pointed out this phrase that I think is so important. When the Magi say, like, where's the one who's been born King of the Jews? Herod is terrified, and all Jerusalem with him.
Yeah, that part.
Like,
Why are they scared too?
and
who
why
is
are
scared?
they scared?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because they're getting caught red-handed. They're like, we've been following a decoy forever, and now it's like it's coming up to bubble now.
Yeah, I think they're, so again, let's read, not literally, but literarily. A lot of Luke's Christmas story is probably not literal, like, he wrote this story on purpose to illustrate a narrative, because Luke wasn't there when Jesus was being born taking notes, he's literally, it's literally written decades after all of this. He's not there, so he's not, but this is a story that he's including to teach a lesson, to say something about Christian theology, because he is in the very, very early stages of what it means to be a Christian, a follower of the way of Jesus. So he does have some serious authority but let's not take it literally, let's take it literarily. So why do you think he casts the people in power in this light and the people who are completely outside in the light that he, what do you think he's trying to say about the establishment, about the institution?
Joseph Campbell. Oh, wait.
Are you just trying to trigger me?
Yeah. The establishment's bad. The people on the outside are good. The good people know. The bad people don't, but they kind of do. So when they're told they're bad, they're really scared. Because the good people they're gonna rush them with pitchforks and torches and stuff.
Well, I really think he's trying to say something about that.
Somebody knows something.
Well,
Something's going on.
For me, one of the things that's very kind of interesting about this is that nobody who's supposed to know. It would be like if I dedicated my life to astronomy. I just dedicated my whole life to astronomy. And my particular lane of astronomy was that an asteroid or a comet or whatever is going to come near the Earth every 5,000 years, or whatever. And it's this great opportunity for us to learn everything about everything. And man, when that comes, it's going to be the best. And I've just dedicated my life to it. And I study it, and I study it, and I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait for this to happen. And then somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, did you see it? It happened. And I was like, what? What happened? The comet that you've been studying, you dedicated your whole life to, that comet, it came. We were watching it too, and we took pretty cool pictures of it
You're
through our
like, Jeff would
telescope.
love that comment.
And I was like,
This is Jeff's comment.
I didn't even know that comment was coming. It's that. Like, that's what's it's an absurd thing for them to say. Like, because the Magi essentially say, like, we've came to pay homage. Where is your king? And they were like,
Who? Yeah.
king, right? Where's the king? Like, hey, quick, go find out where the king is. Hey, make some calls and like send some emails and find out where the king is. And then they're like, yes, of course, the king. Here, have some hors d'oeuvres while we get the information to you. And they're like scrambling to figure out who they're even talking about. You know, like there's something weird going on there. And I think it says something about how the church is today. I think it says something about how the church is today. We tend to get caught up in the institutional structures, I guess you could say. I'll press even deeper. I think we tend to get caught up in the things that we can use to control and manipulate other people, and the things that allow us to be free from criticism and free from and if there's any opportunity to use that, then we do that first. Versus what we are actually supposed to be, which is the people who are humbly seeking and searching within ourselves how to follow and become more like this Christ.
You mean like automation and delegation? Isn't that... Sorry, big words.
Well, there's some definitely corollaries there. Yeah.
You're saying that our brainification likes to make things not us.
Yeah, our brainification.
I went totally caveman. Mm-hmm. Our brain, not us. I don't want to do what that microphone's doing. So we made a microphone.
So let's make a microphone.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to project her voice louder than her.
I want it to be easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So once we have established that, if you change what we've established, if the establishment...
Why is the carpet red? Why does the younger generation talk like that? Why rules, rules, rules?
You should like that. You just kind of said that in the last thing.
No,
I have established this so much that it's now changing.
That are like guidelines that are helpful. I would not describe myself as a rule follower. I would describe myself as a person that likes structure and routine, which is how I feel like most rule followers would describe themselves.
So I think it's important to point out there's something. So
I'm poking the bear, by the way, if you haven't figured it out.
Yeah. So there's something going on where a lot of people would like to believe that the New Testament is this throw out all the rules, we don't care about anything. Yeah, where people like to kind of lean into that. That's not what it is at all. There's nothing inherently wrong with rules. And very strong guidelines about how to treat each other. Even in our community, in Kindred, we have axioms that we adhere to. Make requests, not demands. Own responsibility for your own feelings. So on and so forth. We've done a whole series about it. Please go look it up. Also subscribe if you're enjoying this content. But we have rules that we have. Like if somebody is being harmful in our groups, I will ask them to no longer participate if they cannot correct that.
But there's a difference between hurt and harm.
Absolutely, there's a difference between hurt and harm. But I think that what the New Testament and what Jesus in particular is teaching, and what this is really about, is about the use of the established rules to manipulate and control people versus their original intent, which is to set people free. And it's an impossible thing to measure. If you're looking for a hard line in the sand kind of measurement, it's an impossible thing to measure. It's really, really hard. But there is something internally in all of us that we can feel. You can feel when someone's making demands of you. And it's much harder, but we are also called to turn that eye inward and to feel when we are making demands of other people. And when we are so beholden to the rules that we are willing to oppress someone else in order to get what we want, which is to protect the rules, versus what Jesus does often, which is to flaunt the rules in the name of humanity and in the name of human connection. So, I mean, what does that bring up for you? Have you ever felt somebody making demands or yourself making demands of other people? Have you ever felt like you're kind of, and I use the word oppression a little bit hyperbolically, because there is very real, like we're white people in America, we're middle class. Like, to say oppression is a little bit of an exaggeration, like there's real horrifying oppression. But that sense of like control, manipulation, pressing down, that can feel oppressive.
All right, this is a fun example. We'll see how it lands. I think a lot about, or at least I have been more recently thinking a lot about how much my faith has shifted now versus when I was in youth ministry a couple of years ago. And I would like to think that I was pretty like real and raw and like on it with the students. Like,
would you say you were on fire for Jesus?
No, because that's lame. But I was very like story focused. I'm always going to be who I am. So I was always a little bit non-traditional in most senses, but like I did care a lot about the way my kids talked, the language they were using, the music they were listening to. Is this a church appropriate or is it not church appropriate? And I think if I was a youth pastor now, like my theology would look a lot different on that, because frankly,
Can I say that I think a lot of that, because I was also a youth director before I was a worship director, before I was a pastor. And as I look back on that, and so like, tell me if you identify with this or not. As I look back on that, a lot of that was because of the expectations that were externally placed on me.
Yes.
There was a whole congregation
Yep.
that expected the youth group to look and act and be a certain way.
Yes. I was literally just about to get to that.
And I was the hand of that expression to try and enforce that in a way. And I didn't like it. Like, it sucked.
Come up to me and tell me that it was my job. Our students weren't evangelizing enough, and it was my job to get them to evangelize more. And why wasn't so and so in the church service on Sunday, and how dare they, and oh my gosh, you're talking about LGBTQ and sex education, how dare you? And
because God forbid a parent helps a child evangelize.
So I was doing a lot of that, but when I would be with my kids in my space doing my thing,
MySpace.
I gave a lot of
This was years ago.
How old are you?
I gave a lot of shits about whether or not they said the fuck word, whether they were listening to rap music, whether like all this stuff. And I think now, if I was with that same group of students, there's a part of me that like feels a little guilty about that, because it's like, honestly, like I really wouldn't have given a fuck. Were you hurting anybody? No.
Besides your parents?
Well,
I always thought the youth...
So that's what it brought up for me, but that's
Yeah.
because that's what I've been wrestling
I always
with.
thought the youth goaltender was for the parents.
well, and I think what you were hitting on earlier is also this idea of like the outsourcing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, as long as it's done correctly. And
Well, I disagree. I don't like it at all. And it certainly happens with youth and children,
Yeah.
but it also happens with, again, to go back to the text. What I'm really asking essentially is like, what in the world causes the internal mechanisms and personalities of the people who are like bought in to like subtly, slowly convert into people who they used to be, and I know I made fun of the on fire for Jesus, but they used to be genuinely enthusiastic about this thing that actually did something for them. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, it's turned into the guy up there prays for me, the guy up there reads scripture for me, the guy up there sings songs for me. And if he ever changes, I'll effing kill him.
I think it's really easy to get to a place where you feel comfortable and stagnant. And like, if you don't feel genuinely like if you've been in the church for X amount of years and like again it's being made very easy for you because somebody's talking at you, you don't have to be as active of a participant because you
Well, and
whatever.
the church leans into making it easy for people, which I think is a bad move.
I agree.
Like it's a bad move.
I've seen this recently, which it's not a recent problem, but you make it easy for the people that are just coming in. Like a guy off the street, make it easy for him to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Good point.
But Joe
Like,
and Jill
yes.
in the front row, who have been in the front row for 8 years straight.
Yeah, if you've been, I used to say this at Eustis, the church, the more traditional looking church that I served a while ago. Like, if you've been a Christian for 20 years and you're coming here because you need your needs met, it's time to take a look inside.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad move. Like, if you're upset because the music isn't the way you want it, then you have failed at your faith.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, you have done a bad job.
Yeah, I was going to go harsher with your kind of path, the on fire thing. The fire goes out, no pun intended, because after 3 or 4 years, to harshly and crudely say, there's no change happening. Santa Claus isn't real. It doesn't come down and change your life.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other byproduct of like making it easy for the people who are, and let's face it, a lot of this has to do with money. You're making it easier for the people who are funding the church through tithing and through giving. And the byproduct, the horrible side effect of that is that by making it easier for them, nothing happens for them.
Right.
Like, and it's exactly what you're just talking
And it
about.
turns
Like,
into
nothing's happened.
They don't want things to happen.
Right,
So-
because that's uncomfortable.
So
and
yeah, so I don't know if either
Versus the starting point, like the main starting point for most people who, and granted, there are plenty of people out there who are kind of raised Christian and they don't have this like drastic change moment. And stick with us. I think that's still possible. And like if you're liking this, like stick with us. But people who have like converted or so, like who have actually had some kind of a conscious shift. The most exciting thing about it is the change of it and the challenge of it. And it's the call to like drop that, pick this up.
Right.
And we kind of get rid of it. We kind of just like, well, that's too hard. So let's make it easy. You did it the one time. That's all you need. And like 70 years later, you're a complacent, narcissistic,
angry,
bitter.
jaded, yeah.
No one ever asks now what. There's never like the follow up. It's always the follow up is, oh well, I'm in my seat.
Yeah.
What are you doing in my seat, even more specifically?
Great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that was a cartoonish example.
No, it's not. Or why are the carpets red? Not a cartoonish example.
I mean, it is a cartoonish example, except for the fact that it happens on the regular.
Yeah.
Like, except for the fact that it really, really happens.
Why are you wearing a skirt that short when you're leading worship on stage?
Yeah. I got yelled at for wearing denim. I'm the pastor, by the way. Got yelled at for wearing denim to a blended service.
Yeah, I got told that my
It's like,
skirt was too short.
You're
and I
welcome
was
to leave.
tempting other young men with what I was wearing when I sang on stage.
Old Betty can't do it anymore.
And how would Matt feel about that? They said, and I said,
he was on stage with the skirt
I
as
dare
well.
you to go ask him.
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, please go
I dare
ask him.
you to go ask him.
I feel like he'd say what skirt? Like he's just totally oblivious.
Yeah. We're close to our end of time. I simply want to say that so this will come out after the new year. New Year is kind of a time where we can like evaluate and reaffirm and recommit and really try to do better. As best I can, I want to invite anybody out there who has grown up in the church, maybe who is a pastor in the church, maybe who is a leader in the church. Please stop ignoring this problem. Please, I'm begging you in the name of Jesus Christ. Please stop ignoring this problem and recommit ourselves. Let us recommit ourselves in the new year to actually trying to make disciples, real people who follow in the way of Jesus, in the way of kindness, in the way of maturity, in the way of graciousness, in the way of responsibility, in the way of justice. Please, God, if you are at all moved by this, reach out to us, get in touch with us. Let's join arms and join ranks and truly, please, try to make a difference for the kingdom of heaven. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.